Say hi.
Just
no! Wait, you gotta stop the tracking first.
I will.
Someday we'll figure this camera out.
It was when you waved.
Dang it.
No more waving. Oh, a little bit more.
Hi, YouTube.
All right, we're going to let it go.
Good enough.
Poecilotheria, ladies and gentlemen. Feared by few, loved by many. These beautiful species of spiders have become the focal point for over a century of collectors. They have definitely captured the gaze of hobbyists, collectors, enthusiasts all around the world. They are amazing. Definitely one of our favorites. This species, or this genre rather, really is what captivated us. This genus, yeah. Definitely is what started this business and got me over my fear of spiders. Despite their reputation for medically significant venom, for being fast, quote unquote, bolty, photosensitive, you name it, blah, blah, blah. Truly, this species of spider is truly incredible. And we can't wait to talk to you guys all about it. They have a fascinating history. They're even the subject of some ancient legend and myth, which is kind of neat. We can talk about that. But let's just get into it. Welcome to Spiders After Sunset. This is Spotted Wild Beasts. Fun fact, Poecilotheria in Latin translates to English roughly by, it means spotted wild beast. So Pokilos, I think that's how you pronounce it, means spotted, and Therion means wild beast, which I think is just perfect. I love Latin names, especially when they mean something cool like that, and that name is definitely deserving of this species and vice versa. So Poecilotheria. So let's get into it.
Hey, Vicky. Hey, Blue Bomber.
Hey, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Sorry, I don't know if you want me to say your real name, so I've just been calling you by your username.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So this controversial species, man, I tell you what, it makes a lot of sense to me why they have been kind of a focal point for like international, what's the word? Regulation. I suppose. But we'll get into that a little bit. National regulations, of course.
Federal regulation, whatever the word is.
We'll touch on that a little bit. I don't like to get into that a lot, but we'll talk about it. If you don't already know, we'll bring it back up again, just because it's important and relevant to the species as far as trade regulations. So we'll talk about that. But let's see, what do we've got? So we've got how many described species of Poecilotheria? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Is that right?
Yeah. According to current science, but we'll also get into that.
Yep. So I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to talk about it. We have Formosa. We have Metallica.
For the Indian species.
For the Indian species. We're going to break this down. So we do have, well, what is that? 6 Sri Lankan species?
7.
Yeah, because there's 2 species that are found on both Sri Lanka and on India, so India being the mainland. But we'll just start from the top. The Indian species, Formosa, Metallica, Miranda, Regalis, Rufilata, Striata, and Tigrina wesseli.
And all these species are endemic to India. These species we just named.
Correct, yep. So you will not find those on Sri Lanka.
Or elsewhere in Asia.
Correct, yeah. With Regalis having the most widespread range, for sure. And even if you go to iNaturalist, you kind of see Regalis is just kind of trickled all throughout India. I don't think you find Poecilotheria in like the northern half of India. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And then Sri Lanka, we have Fasciata ornata. Is that Rajai? Smithi subvusa, and then Sri Lankanensis. Sri Lankanensis. But that animal is, I heard that animal could be something else, because that was recently described, but I think there's controversy. That could be something else. That could be an animal that's already described. Taxonomy.
Something like that. Oh, that's confusing.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have Hanuma villosemica, which you find on both bodies of land, and then we have Vitata, which you also find in India and Sri Lanka.
And those Sri Lankan species we mentioned, those 6 are endemic to Sri Lanka. They're not found in the mainland.
I don't know if you guys can see him or not. Can you show up? What do we have here, Jess?
This is a species highland, or as the current science says, this is Subfusca, but yeah, the hobbyist still refers to them as species highland because there's a lot of disagreement among its official diagnosis in the science. And once again, we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about those species.
Yeah, so I want to talk about highland in particular because of all the animals in the genus. This one, in my opinion, has the most unique natural history. It's very different than where you would find most of its counterparts, especially the lowland Subfusca that you find in lowland forest. Highland have a very unique natural history, and you can actually, we'll point you guys in the direction. There's plenty of online content and video of this species in its natural habitat, and you can see just how different it really is. So if you guys do some digging, you can find natural history of just about all of these animals. You can see their habitat, you can see their range. And again, Subfusca is just so different, which I think is really cool. And it's definitely worth noting if you're going to talk about Poecilotheria, and if you're going to keep Poecilotheria. The ivory ornamentals, which is Subfusca, are striking. I mean, they're all beautiful. Like, I'll say it right now, this is the only species that actually stops me in my tracks at night when we're walking around.
The only genus?
Yeah, the only genus that I just can't get enough of. Like, they're truly beautiful. So we'll talk about that. So also I want to bring up too, if you guys are interested in natural history and documentaries that pertain to the animals, which in my opinion, as a hobbyist, there's no more valuable resource than natural history documentary. Andrew Smith, who is a arachnologist from the UK, documentarian, I believe he likes to call himself, but he travels the globe and he does documentaries. Again, Andrew Smith, lovetarantulas.com. We're going to link him down below. I highly recommend it. He has go ahead.
He has actually described 2 of these Pokies species that we're talking about. In 2006, he officially described Tigrina wesseli, and he also described Hanuma villosemica in 2004. So he is very experienced, very knowledgeable about this genus.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far into his content because I want you guys to support him and buy and download his documentary. But he was documentary. So let's just talk about Metallica. I want to talk about Metallica because that is my favorite animal. That is definitely that species is the one who kind of started this whole thing for me. They're blue. They're incredible. They're smaller Poecilotheria. But Andrew, fun fact, I didn't know this until I actually watched the documentary. He was the only individual European to get eyes on Metallica and note that it was blue, because the type specimen, after it was found in I think it was 1899, they knew it was blue. But when they preserved it in a jar of alcohol, it turned like brown. Yeah, red, whatever it was. So, of course, locals knew the animal was blue. But the Western world did not know it until he saw it again and took a photograph of it. And then that was a living one. Yep. And then that was just in the last recent years is how
last 30 years
that kind of like started this whole cascade of regulation and smuggling and all that, which again, I don't really want to get into too much, but all that information is there if you want to see what that's like. And the history is just really fascinating. But
Vicky says, I love watching you just fit those names like nobody's business.
Well, I'm not very good at it. I'm still learning. Yeah, it's honestly learning Latin names is far easier than remembering common names, in my opinion. Yeah. Right, because it doesn't change all that often. And plus, like Goody sapphire ornamental, that makes people think that it's from Goody, which the Metallica is actually not. It was first found in Goody in a pile of wood that was used. I thought it was like they were harvesting timber to like build stuff. But what they were doing is they were clearing hillsides all throughout India in the 1800s to power the trains, is what you might learn in a certain documentary.
So the wood was collected elsewhere and brought to Goody.
Yes, so it was
Very
collected
important.
in all these different hillsides all throughout India. And then in the case of Metallica, that specific bundle of wood was brought to Goody, and then that's where engineers found it for the first time.
Shout out to Pocock for his early work.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, there's a couple players involved, which again, this is why I highly encourage you guys to go watch that documentary, because it's just fascinating.
And then one more thing about the Metallica and Goody thing. They have searched for Metallica pretty extensively in Goody since then, and not a single specimen has ever been found. So that's kind of why it's believed that they did not, or they weren't native there, aren't native there. Right.
And so, yeah, as that pertains to natural history, a lot of these animals, which I'm going to quote Andrew here in a little bit when we start talking about captive husbandry, but they're found in mature trees, like specific trees that have all these
growth trees,
cracks and fissures, and they're really funky looking trees.
What do you call those trees? I can't remember now.
There's
it's
a name.
Specific type of tree.
Yeah, I can't remember. But a lot of those mature trees were cut down and used for that purpose in the late 1800s, and it has completely changed the landscape, which is why now, even though like Regalis is still widespread, like Poecilotheria are kind of fragmented all throughout India, and that's why there's just the forests. There's not old growth forests anymore.
Need to change the common name. I agree. I just don't like the word Goody.
Sapphires makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, sapphire ornamental.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah,
simple enough.
Could keep that. So that's really interesting. Again, check out that documentary. Documentary. Yeah.
Documentary.
So let's just get this out of the way before we start talking about natural history. We got to talk about CITES and regulation. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it's important, right? And that, again, is highlighted in a lot of online documentary and a lot of just online garbage. But as of 2019, Poecilotheria, the whole genus was listed under CITES Appendix 2. And so what this means is that these animals cannot be legally traded internationally without a permit. That's really what that means. But as we all know, at least most of us know, the Sri Lankan species in the United States was under the Endangered Species Act, right? Mm-hmm. Or ESA.
Which is a just a United States regulation. So it's only relevant to the United States.
Right. So on that list, we have Fasciata, Ornata, Smithia subfusca, and then there's a couple other ones here. Vitata. Yep.
I don't think Sri Lankensis or Rajai are on that, are they?
Neither is Hemimavilla sunica.
Right. Because that one can be found on both continents. So
that's okay. Someone missed. So there's that. That's why a lot of the species, I think we're going to rehouse some tonight, especially this little goober right here, which is such a pity because it's such a beautiful animal. But these animals can only be sold within the state. They can be gifted. I'm telling you right now, though, it's a sticky thing.
They can be gifted. Like they can be gifted as spiderlings, or they can be loaned for breeding purposes only across state lines.
So you basically there cannot be an exchange. There cannot be commerce, right? And the reason they did that is you can find this information if you do a little bit of digging. I don't like to bring up the name of the little organization that pushed for this because I don't want to give them any credit. But what it does point out is just how fragile this little ecosystem is. And I think the more people are aware of it, the more you'll kind of understand things like that.
So Vicky, we're going to get into that right now.
What's that?
Why are so many Pokies not able to cross state lines?
Okay. Yep. So like we said, at least the Sri Lankan species, so Fasciata, Ornata, Smithia subfusca, and Vitata.
Endemic Sri Lankan
species. The animals that are endemic to Sri Lanka are on ESA, which is a federal act put forth by the United States.
The intention of the Endangered Species Act is obviously to protect endangered species
from being smuggled.
Yep. But as we're going to explain, that the intentions are good, but the execution itself, at least from our perspective, sometimes doesn't have
Yeah.
quite the effect that
I think on paper
You
it's
know.
great. It's hard to argue. I think
I think it's easy.
I think it makes a lot of sense. The problem is it's not that black and white, right? And this is why we're very hesitant to. I don't like to if you just Google how this happened, you can find it in 5 minutes, and like you can follow the paper trail. A very small animal rights organization over a few years really pushed for this. They were pushing for the whole genus.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah. And again, they have the best of intentions.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, and that can happen with anything in the hobby. So that's always why we're
You're not going to get any more into that?
I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to talk about it.
I think we should at least summarize it, though.
Okay.
Because it can have, like, modern day.
Yeah.
You know,
all of
it
this
can
could.
affect. Okay. If you don't want to get into it, that's
I
fine.
don't.
Right.
You know what? You can Google it. Okay. The name will pop up. You'll figure out what happened in 5 minutes. But it's very fragile. There is an online document. It's a living document that a couple of very passionate hobbyists have put together that show you that there's a list of names of people who are working with ESA species in each state. For those of you who want to work with some of these species, you will not find our name on that list for the reasons that I just mentioned. You could, if you just, again, Google how this happened, and then you could see how maybe a list like that might not be the best idea. But again, that's our. But anyway, so that is a resource available to you. Again, Google it.
You're just like so careful about it.
Because again, like all of this is just formed with the best of intentions, and I understand that, but it's just not the way the world works.
Can I tell them about why I disagree with it?
Yeah, go ahead. No, because Jess and I disagree on a lot of things actually. So yeah, go ahead. It's good to.
So I disagree particularly about putting these species on the Endangered Species Act because all it does, in my opinion, is limit the ability. Well, no, I don't know. It's really tricky. It does limit, not entirely, but it does limit the ability for people to increase their captive breeding efforts.
So here's what I'll comment on that. Like, I agree.
I think he's laughing at us.
Here's the thing. So, because we used to work for zoos, and like reintroduction was part of our job. At least mine was. But that process. Like, I hear this comment a lot. Why don't we just captive breed them and then re-release them? Okay, a number of reasons why. Number one, India is a very dangerous, hostile place.
A number of reasons why that's hard. Okay, so and we're just going to talk about specifically India. That all has to be permitted. The government has to be on board. There cannot be any financial incentive. Most of these countries where a lot of these exotic animals come from, they want a financial gain. India is very dangerous. And then when it comes to reintroducing animals, you have to do a lot of genetic testing. So the animals that are in the hobby, unless you're sequencing and doing all sorts of work, you can't really verify if they've been crossed or if like that DNA is going to be viable in this particular population of like a re-release site. Like all of these factors come into play. There are also potentially invisible pathogens.
That's correct.
That we could be re-releasing back into the native environment that were never there before.
Right. Yep. So it's very convoluted. So that's why that doesn't work. But here is the honest truth.
On a hobby scale, anyway.
On a hobby scale. Yeah, and
Plus,
there's a reason why zoos aren't reintroducing pokies in the wild just yet.
Are you going to talk about habitat?
Yep. And that's where I'm actually in favor of, in the case of Poecilotheria, collection, not illegal collection, but having them in the captive environment. Because regardless of whatever regulation and laws are passed with Poecilotheria, their habitat is being decimated. For all of them. Even on reserves, it's a proven fact that there's illegal logging, even on the reserves and poaching. So even if you wanted to reintroduce animals, there's not going to be any habitat left. That's just my opinion. Actually, It's my opinion, but I mean, it's what's happening. And again, I encourage you guys to watch the documentary. So realistically, in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, these animals might be extinct, despite anyone's best efforts. So when you look at it that way, I mean, yeah, I kind of want them here, you know, like I want them to live. I want them to thrive and survive. I mean, I hate to use the thrive word for captive populations, but that's the truth.
And again, from the zoo perspective, unfortunately, there used to be a species survival program for Metallica that was ran by AZA Zoos. And because, unfortunately, nobody in the community was willing to take on the project, the SSP kind of just dissolved.
I wrote the care guide, by the way.
Ryan wrote the care guide for it. But yeah, so unfortunately, AZA Zoos aren't really working on any endangered tarantulas that we're aware of right now.
Yeah, maybe Brachypelma. I'm not really sure. We've been out of the game.
Yeah, maybe.
So I don't know.
But, yeah, tarantulas also don't make great display animals for zoos, so that's probably a big reason why a lot of zoos aren't really working with them, because they don't have the space or the funding to work with a species that doesn't make a good display animal, unfortunately.
Right.
So it's a tough topic. Not very fun.
All right, let's move on from the non-fun stuff.
Do you have the conservation status of any of them on there?
No, I don't. I bet it's all pretty terrible, with the exception of maybe Regalis. I'm curious because I don't know how many full surveys are actually being done.
You want me to look it up?
Yeah, I'd be kind of curious to know.
So there are a number of Pokie species in Brachypelma and maybe a couple others, but I think that's it. Actual surveys that are published on the IUCN website. That is the International Union on Conservation of Nature. I think that's what it stands for.
Yeah.
They do official surveys. They examine the environment. They do a lot of research to try to determine what the current conservation status is and what the population trend is. So let's check them out.
This one's doing its typical little pokey stretch that we all love so much.
I don't want to be.
And we're gonna. These guys are cupped like this because we're gonna rehouse them real quick. These are some of our holdbacks, some males.
It's not what they live in.
It's not what they live in. We're gonna rehouse them here real quick. But then we should look at some photos too. Kind of show some different pictures as soon as Jess is done checking out whatever she's looking at.
Looking up the IUCN status. So a lot of the IUCN statuses are not up to date, so keep that in mind. But this one, as of 2008, Metallica is critically endangered and a population trend is decreasing.
Which I bet that's the case for literally all of them.
Yes. A few, I just want to mention the ones that are endangered. Let's see, little spiders.
And I think it's just because, look at Anuma's decreasing.
Anuma villasumica is on here, critically endangered.
Tigrina's on there.
Tigrina westeli is data deficient.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the population trend for those guys are. There's another one that's not officially described as a species, Poecilotheria nalamalaensis.
Which Nalamala is like the name of some hills.
Or a mountain range or something.
A mountain range or something like that.
Let's see.
Miranda's going down.
Miranda's endangered and decreasing. Regalis is least concerned with the population trend, appears to be decreasing.
And that's because they're so widespread.
Yeah. Poecilotheria striata is vulnerable, which means if the population keeps decreasing, it might hit endangered status. Rufilata is endangered and decreasing.
Yeah.
So not a great outlook.
Anyway.
Let's talk about more fun things.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. I think you guys get the point.
Yeah.
So let's talk about keeping them in captivity. This is a lot of fun. Poecilotheria is a lot of fun to keep. They're so much fun to keep. I think their behavior is very predictable. I think they're probably one of the easier animals to keep, in my opinion, but they are specific.
Yeah,
he's ready to get out of there. Yeah. You want to show him some pictures?
Yeah.
We can talk about
figure out how.
Yeah, I'll do a little screen share. Show you guys how we keep our Poecilotheria. So I'm going to go ahead and start this segment with a quote from Andrew Smith. Over the years, you often find Pokies in sunny, grassy sunny grassy upland with limited tree canopy cover. On trees where the sun shines directly on the tree itself. Lots of holes or fissures in the bark of a large number of these trees. We do have, I did get permission from Andrew. You want to just start with that?
What?
I want to show them that.
Absolutely.
So we featured this in some of our
The
content
habitat?
a couple of years ago. Yeah. But I think this is a really good.
Oh, hold on, I have to switch the thing one more time.
Okay.
Keep talking.
So when I was first researching, because I started with just Metallica. Yep. So when I was first researching, I was like, what is their environment like? Because I didn't do a whole lot of researching as far as like looking at care guides or things like that. Just because of my zoo background, I was always thinking like, okay, where do they live? What does it look like? And can I make it look and feel like that? So this is an example of a big mature tree that you often find Pokies in. And if you're looking at that, you'll see those fissures that Andrew's talking about, those little cracks in the trees. And this is undisclosed location. And he was looking for Metallica when he took this picture. So you look at those trees. I see a little more cover there than what you see in like the documentaries. But he's right. The sun does blast these trees up at on the top of these hillsides where you find a lot of these guys. And I think that speaks to their behavior in captivity. They really like to bask. Like they really like to be warm. They can tolerate cooler temperatures just because of the seasonal changes that India experiences, but they really do like to get blasted with heat, which you can use to your advantage. You can manipulate their environment, and especially if you want to breed them, it gives you a lot more flexibility with the animals because they really do enjoy that. And I've got a lot of pictures of it to back that up. So it was really, I don't know, I guess comforting to hear that and see because,
Comforting.
Yeah, because, you know, find me a care guide where it says blast them with a heat bulb.
Yeah.
You won't. You
Yeah.
won't, because people kind of got that backwards. But if you're careful and you really dial it in for the size enclosure that you have, they really like to be warm, and it brings them up, brings them out.
Yeah.
They like to come out and bask. Why don't we show them some pictures? So I think there's a Metallica picture.
There's another
Yeah.
habitat.
There's another habitat shot. This is specifically Metallica, but what we've found from his documentaries is like a lot of these guys overlap. See in a little fissure there. There's one. I bet you they chased him out. So what they're doing in the wild is they're looking for little silk hammocks in between these fissures and holes, and that's usually where they're found.
Which picture did you want me to show?
Show one of them basking.
Scroll through.
Oh, there's
because
one.
This will be easier if I just keep scrolling.
This is the first female that I kept, and we just a real disclaimer. Other than Subfusca, the species Highland, we keep all the Poecilotheria pretty much the same, which looks just like this.
Not quite that hot.
Not
for
quite
most
that
of
hot.
them, but for
Yeah.
Metallica,
Well,
yes.
we do we cycle them,
Yeah.
right? So if they are brooding, we will give them heat like this. This animal is gravid, and she's using that heat to warm her booty up.
Notice, I mean, you can't really tell from this picture, but she does have several inches of this wood tube to retreat if she wants to, and she's choosing to be out in that beam of
Yep.
heat.
So I usually tell folks like get a big old cork tube like this, and try to get the tube to go from the bottom of the enclosure all the way to the top, just like this. It could be any size, whatever fits the enclosure, but they really like a really tall piece of cork. So, and that really goes for all of them, even the Highland species. The Highlands we just don't keep hot like that.
Can we keep scrolling?
Yeah. Show them some more stuff. So we do provide some foliage. Here's the Metallica that is drinking off the foliage that come out at night once you lightly mist. The foliage really is not necessary. That's a mature male. But they seem to like to drink off of it, and it's really aesthetically pleasing. So that's up to you. Here's one of her basking. I've got another one if we keep scrolling.
I think she was gravid in this picture.
So that's another. You see that big booty?
Yeah.
Yep. And where she's basking there, I think is like 92,
I
93.
think it was like 95.
It might have been 95.
I think you have a picture of
I'm
the
sure I do.
temp gun, but
Oh, so this is actually the last part of a series of photos. So the first time we bred Metallica, You notice that same little piece of wood there. I actually have. Keep scrolling. Okay, so yep. So here are her babies after a few molts. Here's when they first hatched. There's a whole bunch of them. And then I did leave some with mom for up to a year and a half in this clutch. And mostly that was just because I couldn't get them all out.
Great at hiding.
They're really good at hiding. And I just wanted to watch their behaviors because this was all very new to me. So then go to the left again. And then you can see there's mom with her babies growing up. You can see the blues and the yellows coming in.
6-month-old babies.
Just sharing that hollow. I was comfortable with leaving 2 or 3 in there because there wasn't the biggest tree. But I think what this does, I think why I'm showing you this is a lot of people say that Poecilotheria are communal. I don't like that word because I don't like how the hobby abuses it. But they clearly do tolerate each other. And I think they do that because in the wild, resources or appropriate retreats are limited. And so they tolerate one another and they can be in the vicinity.
They
but
might tolerate one another. I don't even necessarily think that every single one will.
Yeah. And this is why I hate that word.
There's nuance.
Yeah. I'm not
things.
saying do this. I'm just saying just look at what happened. And this was good. I kept them together for a long time and everything was good. Everyone had a lot of food. Babies that were with mom definitely grew faster than their separated counterparts because they had access to that hot heat and they had lots of food. And we've done that. We've got Rufalata. I think, do we still have babies in there with Rufalata?
I'm not sure. Okay. I think I might have gotten them all out now finally because they dispersed. They seemed like they purposely did disperse.
So that's kind of interesting too.
They were both on the wall instead of.
With Metallica, they seem to be like we'll all hang together. But the Rufalata seem to want to disperse. Who knows what that is?
After a few months,
Yeah, just something worth noting. So anyway, lots of little babies there. So here's another. This was before I even. This was like the first. These are all Metallica that I was raising, but notice the theme. You got a big piece of wood that goes to the top, and then like blasted them with some heat. It was safe. That was, it didn't get over 95, but that's where they would like to hang out.
Oh, one more note about when Ryan was keeping these guys, quote unquote, communally. Notice how large this enclosure is.
Yeah.
This is a 12 by 12 by 18. He did not purposely scrounge them all into a tiny tank in order to reduce cannibalism or anything like that.
It's important to note too that they were siblings. Yeah. So
again, nuance.
Yeah, nuance to all of this, because a lot of people, you might look at this and be like, "Oh, that's looks hot," but it really wasn't. Like I dialed all of that in, made sure it wasn't too hot. I didn't cook anything. No one cooked it themselves, and it just worked. They seem to really like it. And, it's so weird that the tarantula hobby is so weird with this concept because roach keepers and mantid keepers, it's not a novel thing to give them heat, but the tarantula community is just so weird with it. Here's another.
Share that one. Hold on.
Yeah, there's another Metallica basking over there. Yep, basking under her light. This girl produced for us last year. These are all different animals, by the way. Was it this year? It was this year. Yeah, it was this year. Yeah. Probably give her a break next year. But again, same thing, some heat.
We have a cool little video of this exact, moment where she was initially facing upward, facing the heat, and then she rotated 180 degrees and then sat like that.
That's in our heat and light video.
Oh.
Actually. Yeah, there's a clip of her doing that.
I knew it.
And they'll all do this, not just Metallica. They'll all do this.
What do you use to offer direct heat to in particular?
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily heat and light video, but we really, because these are small cages, they're not over 18 inches in most cases, little halogen bulbs. And then we use dimmer switches.
So they're Zilla mini halogen?
Yeah, those mini little bulbs. Watt. They make them now with a gooseneck. I'm trying to see if I can go find that. You know what? I'm gonna find it. I'll be right back.
In addition to the mini halogens, since those get like really hot and it's kind of unnecessary, for certain species we also use 25-watt ceramic heaters. Those don't put out nearly as much heat as the mini halogens do. Also, what's that? Thrive Ecosystems?
Yeah, his
right?
little LED fixture.
Thrive Ecosystems, he puts out a really nice LED light, which also puts out a good 5 to 10 degrees of heat as well for the species that don't need a ton of extra heat. We just recently put that light on. We have one on our Purpurea.
JK, I can't find it.
Oh, just steal one from the geckies.
I'll have to unplug it.
Oh, well, we'll post links. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we should do another update, but
Yeah.
Anyway, they make them now that like they have little clamps on them, so you can like suspend them above the tanks instead of like resting them directly on. Also, Tarantula Cribs is coming out with they released this little LED that's like it's got UV. It's really cool. It's like that big. But they're going to make a version without UV. So if you keep animals in acrylics, little acrylic boxes, that would be a very good option. You could like rest it like something this size. You could rest it directly on top of it. So that's coming soon. I don't know exactly how hot they get, but I have a sample and I think it's like perfect. So
Wayne says, "Sorry, I'm late, y'all. Doing a job application. Good luck with your application."
yeah, man, get that job.
Yeah, get that job.
I need a job. Are they hiring? Seriously. Oh, yeah. Just kidding. Anyway, we out of pictures?
Yeah, the Metallica pictures, yeah.
Yeah, scroll through some other species here and let's kind of take a peek at them because they're just so freaking awesome to stare at. This is a good one.
Well, it's kind of... Let me...
Because I think you have pictures of all of them.
I don't have a picture of an adult Hanuma Velasumica, but they look
Pretty
pretty much the
close.
same as
You have one that's pretty
certain
close.
ones. Yeah, hold on. Let me figure this out because I don't want to share
These poor guys.
my entire screen yet.
There's a little Metallica.
Let me see.
These guys are like, yo, why are the lights still on?
Here's a Formosa. Not the greatest picture because she's pretty shy.
So over the Poecilotheria, we use like strong LED grow lights that do produce quite a bit of heat. So when they're not brooding and we're not using little halogen bulbs, the LEDs that we use from Barina grow lights, they do a really good job at like just giving them ambient heat. But again, like not everyone's environment is the same, you know? So like ambiently, just generally speaking, for everything except for Highland, we try to get it like 75 to 80 degrees ambient and then give them like 85 to 90 spot to bask.
I'm going to bring up a couple of these Metallica basking pictures.
Yeah, we have so many pictures of Metallica because that's just like what we've worked with the most. That's a good one.
Which one is it?
Yeah. That was Jessica's first.
Hold on, I can't see it yet.
No, that's a good idea. Good example of like 75 Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Isn't it? Oh,
Sorry, trying to figure it out.
This one?
Yeah. Like perfect kind of plant isn't thrilled.
We just set that up.
But yeah, notice how they're like, he's like, no, I don't really want to use that whole, I'd rather make my own thing, which is cool. You know, they do that. But right at the bottom, 75 Fahrenheit, I think that's like perfect. And then if they want to go up and get a little warmer, they can. It's just what they do. Like, it's so weird that the hobby's so weird about it. Like, it's just what they like, especially Poecilotheria. But Avix like to do it too. I'm gonna give a shout out real quick to the YouTube channel. I mentioned him last stream, but Bird Spider CH. I still don't know his name. I want to say it's Eric. He's from UK, I think, but he does some natural history content, and he went to I don't want to say the name out loud, but he went to where you find Highland, and kind of showed them in the big cypress trees. And in the burrow where they're hanging out, it was like 62 degrees Fahrenheit, like in the tree, much cooler. And there's other reports too. I don't know if Michael Jacoby's still around, but he went there and documented that stuff. And he said same thing. It was cold. It was wet.
Yeah, and the bird spiders guy said it might reach up to like 70 to 72.
Yeah.
At the warmest part of the day in the warmest season.
But I have a theory. I do think that, you know how we talked about earlier, Andrew mentioned the sun coming through and hitting the tree face. I think that does happen quite a bit in highland regions. Yeah. And I do think, like, even though the ambient air is cool, they still have the opportunity to get warmer because of the sun hitting the tree. Right. Just throwing that out there. But it is important, like ambiently, like that would be a species that we keep on the bottom shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keep them cooler for sure. But 62 Fahrenheit. Like, I'm cold thinking about it. I don't like it.
I like it.
It's just so different from the rest of the mainland counterparts and the lowland species.
Here's one of my favorite species.
Which one's that one?
Miranda.
That's beautiful. So yeah, like I mean, look at these things. That is just so impressive. Just beautiful.
One of the only species that's very easy to distinguish from the dorsal markings because they're the only Pokie species that has entirely white patella, which is the exact segment right here.
Little cheat code.
Yeah. Most of them have a little bit of white on the patellas, but the Miranda is the only species that the entire patella is white.
Regalis, you can cheat because they have the belly band. That's the only species that has the white band on the abdomen on the bottom side. So, let's see. You got anything else you want to show them?
I'm working on it.
I like them all. You cannot go wrong with any of them. So, Poecilotheria without, I mean, let's just state the obvious. They're kind of more of like keeping a pet fish. Definitely a look, don't touch kind of thing. Behaviorally, they just make so much sense to me. Like if you just give them a big cork hollow and give them somewhere to escape to, rarely do you see defensive postures. When they want to be fast, they go fast into their hole. They don't go fast out at you, which is another cool or another reason why you should keep front opening tanks as opposed to top opening. I definitely think all arboreals really, but especially faster animals like Asian arboreals, come at them from the front. It's much less threatening than ripping the roof off the place to access their enclosure, for sure. But it's funny, like when people say like, oh, it's a mental thing. Like before you decide to keep any old world species.
Look at what you did.
How'd that happen?
You must have done the gestures.
Want to go away? No. What would Spiders After Sunset be without this?
Camera.
No, I don't know if it'll go back. There it is. Good enough.
Good enough, I guess.
Just a little closer to us. Sorry, guys. I'm not calling you losers or anything. We have got to turn that off. Yeah.
I don't think you can.
We're going to try.
Anyway, I'm trying to show these pictures of these Rufilata babies. They're hanging out on top of a mushroom right after they molted to second instar or whatever.
Yeah, that is
their first independent
So guys,
stages.
In bioactive vivarium, mushrooms show up all the time. As long as it's not that flower pot fungus, that white mushroom or that yellow mushroom that's really annoying. Even the yellow mushrooms don't really.
These ones are technically a different type of
the
flower pot fungus,
yeah.
but not as enough.
Anyway, they pop up, they go away, they pop up, they go away. They don't really harm anything. If they drop spores, that can be kind of annoying because it kind of coats everything, but it just goes away.
Oh, didn't switch. Okay, let me see.
You want to show them the lowland?
Yep.
The one, I think the girl that she's about to show you, we think she has a sac right now. But this would be one of the ESA species that has to stay within the state or just gift to our friends. But beautiful, just beautiful. So that's Sophuska lowland, the quote-unquote ivory ornamental.
Not the most in focus picture, but
Beautiful, just beautiful.
a lot of Pokies have this gorgeous purple
Lots of purple.
Iridescence
Yeah.
on their femurs in particular, and their carapace that you can catch at night under LED lights.
Yeah. And a lot of them are quite large. The larger ones being Ornata and Rufilata. I think those are the two larger ones, right?
Yeah. They're kind of tied. There's a lot of anecdotal reports of 11, 12-inch Rufilata, but I
don't know. I believe
yet
it.
to see one.
Ours is what? Got to be 8, 9.
No,
Closer to
I measured
9.
her recently. She's probably like 7.5. Same with the Ornata. I think she's just about 7.5 too. But the Ornata is a lot bulkier.
Yeah.
Our Rufilata is very leggy.
Yeah.
Ornata is kind of like really intimidating because of how bulky she is.
Yeah, we keep our Ornata right now like 12, 12, 18, and I almost feel like it's too small.
Vicky, you're supposed to tell us when the camera messes up.
I'm trying to fix it.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't screw it up. Thinking of getting something 10 to 12 inches in height for my H. Pulcher piece. She's currently in an 8-inch 360 degrees from T-Cribs. I want to turn her to a switch enclosure or something similar.
Yeah, with Pulcher peas. I know we're talking about Pokies here, but they are more fossorial than anything. So the more depth you can give them, the better. Like, yeah, 8, 9 inches of soil if you can, because they like to go down and make these little turrets up out of the ground. That's another one that I think really benefits from heat lamps, appropriately measured, of course, not a 120 watt halogen or mercury vapor or anything like that, but something small. I think they do like to bask. We see ours doing that all the time. Which one's that one?
This is a Tigrina wesseli, which is another one of my favorites. They just have this striking black and white, and again, some purple iridescence there.
I like them too.
Someday I'll breed them.
Yep. One day we'll get them all done.
Tigrina wesseli is another one. Fun fact. This is. Let me see if I can rotate it. So right on the carapace there, they have a little T, little white T. Fun fact.
Little cheat code.
Another Tigrina wesseli.
There is a poster that a photographer, I cannot remember his name, but it's like a famous poster. He put all the Pokies, males and females, next to each other. It's just a huge poster of it to kind of like show the dimorphism. Highly recommend you Google that. We have one somewhere.
Yes.
I don't know where it is. Framed somewhere.
Somewhere.
We still haven't unpacked from our move.
Victoria has a female Ornata.
Nice.
Awesome. She has thoroughly been dirt web turret up top. Unfortunately, it's being anchored to the lid. Oh, yeah.
They do that sometimes too.
Yeah, Blue Bomber, that poster, I think it's, well, at least when we got ours, it was only like $17 or something for like a 3-foot wide poster.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Love it. I want the ventral one too.
Yeah.
We also did all the Pokies ventrally.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that one's available in a poster, but I want it.
Yeah. Cool. Well,
Cool.
What do you want to do? You want to do some rehousing? Get these little kiddos
Guess so.
in where they're supposed to go?
You guys let us know if you have any questions.
Yeah.
We can try to answer them.
Yeah, why don't
We're
we do
not
that?
all knowing, but we do know some stuff.
I know a couple things, not a lot. Yeah. Let's, you want to switch me over here?
Yeah.
Get these guys in their little... So these are more or less temporary enclosures. We're not going to do like this full bioactive.
Do you want me to put
Fancy
you
builds.
on full screen?
Yeah, you can.
I don't want them to see my shoulder.
You got to tell me who goes where, because I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay, so you're doing the 669 first?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell them about that enclosure?
Yep. We don't make these anymore. Sorry. This is just an old 669. So
Purple box.
Yeah, purple box. We any of the ones that came in cracked, we just use them for ourselves because they're just as good as
Call that
the other
blemish.
ones. Little blems, but simple. Wow, I just dumped that. But anyway, just so you guys can see that cork hollow that goes mostly to the top. And this will be pretty good for a little while. These guys were all in, I think, like 447 AMAX.
Kind of. But
All right, who's going in this one?
I'll go ahead and put that striata in there.
All right.
This is an unsexed
So,
striata juvenile.
also, I don't rehouse these things. This is a Jess job.
Do you have tongs? Yeah.
Yeah, I got some tongs. Let's see if he behaves.
Normally, we don't tend to necessarily cup them up like this either.
No, this is just for you guys so I can make a fool of myself. Look at that. Handsome little man. What species is this, Jen?
Striata.
This is Striata.
Striata is not an ESA species.
So we'll get him in there.
Striata is kind of underrated just because they're kind of like a typical black and white pokey and maybe not necessarily as striking as a regalis, but I still think they're
Let's see how he
gorgeous.
responds to this. So, and I'm going to talk about this as soon as I get this guy up in here. That's not what I want you to do, little man.
It's bright on you.
Yeah. Perfect. Right into the hole. See that? I mean, my goodness.
I don't think this is a very good like view for them. You
No.
can't really see much like that. There's
Okay.
a glare and it's far back.
Well, let me see what I can do. Okay, so real quick. When it comes to Pokies, the easiest thing you can do, I'm telling you right now, unless they're in like a dram vial, which the dram vial becomes a cork tube. That's about as good as I can go. So when I go to rehouse this animal, this whole tube, I'm just literally going to take it out and I'm going to put it in a bigger enclosure. And I highly recommend you do that for Pokies. If you have them housed in a dram vial like this animal is, and it's ready to be rehoused, all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this lid and I'm just going to put it in there, and he can come out on his own terms. Sometimes it might take him a night. Sometimes it might take him 2 weeks.
Sometimes they won't ever do it.
Yeah, like our Purpurea.
Yeah, if you watched our stream earlier, maybe you put it up on this ugly platform.
Yeah.
For future ones.
All right. So that one's all set. I'll let Jess take that. Let's see. This Highland, where's this Highland going?
Into the
One of these?
hiding.
Okay. I'm gonna get some soil in here. We're just using some of our Mega Mix soil.
A lot of Pokies tend to grow pretty fast. Certain species like Ornata and Rufilata in particular grow crazy fast. So sometimes we move them right up into, use the Pioneer, not the English.
Oh, okay.
We move them up a
get
few
some soil in.
sizes larger just so we don't have to keep rehousing them like every 3 months.
Yes, we will house kiddos in larger enclosures and let them grow.
Doors polarity.
Hey, it's a blam.
It's okay.
It's a blam.
It'll do.
All it has to do is keep the spider in there. Some Pokies don't really use the particulate in the soil very much, do they? Like in their
yes, they
curtains and
do.
stuff, do they?
Oh, I can't. It's behind the background, but you should see what one of my other Highlands stuffed the entire opening of her cork tube. I think she's getting ready to molt.
So this is So for a lot of tarantulas, that's why we like to use soil that's got a lot of stuff in it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show them kind of up close. Yeah, see all the stuff.
Oh.
Like they can utilize all that and the leaf litter. Usually we sprinkle some leaf litter in there. If they want to put it in their curtains or whatever they want to do with it.
Apparently, like, I don't know where I am.
All right. So I've got a nice little cork tube in there. Make sure this will shut.
He says my Rufilata is still in the vial you gave me her in. She's petite. Good.
Yeah.
Hopefully she is indeed female if you haven't sexed her yet.
So the way we heat these small enclosures, because again, it doesn't matter if the Pokey is 1 inch or 8 inches. They all are driven to bask and be warm. They like to be warm. So the way we do this is we have, these are on a rack system, and we have those grow lights that kind of go over the tops of these. We suspended about, I don't know, 1 inch, maybe 2.
Yeah, a couple inches. Give some leaf litter.
Oh yeah, you need leaf litter, buddy. And so that's how we're giving them that heat in this small space. Yeah, that works.
This gives a better, yeah, much better.
Okay.
I think.
I'll just sprinkle some leaf litter in there. And sometimes we found that babies will go down in the leaf litter and hang out.
Yeah.
Which is cool. They're just doing kiddo things that don't make sense. But lots of leaf litter for everything. And we'll stick.
For everything.
Perfect. All right, Jess, get in here and do this.
Okay. Well, do you want me to force it out, or do
You know what I would
do what we usually do?
You know what I would? Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna do what we normally do. Watch how easy this is, guys. Look at that. Put the lid on. Maybe.
Of course, it's less exciting, but it is the safest and least stressful way for both
There.
the spider and the keeper.
Yep. So he can come out whenever he's ready. It's definitely more my speed.
Fun.
No accidents. This one I gotta put some soil in real quick.
See if I can show him off.
I got a fun cork tube for this one. It takes up like the whole enclosure, which is fine. Because, you know, if you think about it, really, the tube, the structure is really like their home. So if it takes up most of the enclosure, as long as it's got enough space for them.
I don't want to force this guy out because he's kind of shy.
Oh, is that one going into that?
Oh, goodness, yep. He's like, yeah, it's bright out here.
Hey, maybe see if he'll transfer to this tube.
Okay, but not yet because I'll wait till it's in the enclosure.
Okay. Yeah, this is a tight fit.
I don't know if you guys already heard. Oh, he already ran away. I was going to see if they can guess the species, but he doesn't like the bright light right now.
Yeah, so let me touch on that. I see this all the time. Poecilotheria are photosensitive. Okay. So, no.
No.
So no, they're not photosensitive, guys. If you think about this,
I mean, yes, they are photosensitive, but it means something different.
It means something else. I think what we're seeing is a response to something like I'm exposed, right? Like the animals are obviously kind of reclusive. They don't want to be exposed. And when they go from a dim lit place to all of a sudden there's bright light, it's natural for them to want to retreat, right? But as you saw from our photos, if you have bright light over them and then they feel safe, they'll come out and bask. They'll come out and bask right under the bright light, and they feel fine. They feel safe. So that doesn't really make sense to say they're photosensitive. It just means in that moment they're exposed and they need to get away, right? Does that make sense?
Because in nature, they don't have suddenly the sun turns on when it's pitch black out.
Right.
So that's a very unnatural change in their environment.
But what we like to see often is people will say they're photosensitive, don't give them a light.
Put them in the closet.
Yeah, put them in the closet, put them under your bed, put a blanket over them, things like that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
They still need a photo period. Like they need the lights to come on, they need the lights to turn off, and hopefully he'll just run right into that tube. What species is this, Jess?
This, I don't know if I said it already, but I was going to see if you guys can see his knees. He's turning around on me like, get out of here. This is a Miranda, male.
He's being stubborn.
Juvenile male. He's thinking I'm offering him food. These tongs smell like food because these are the same ones we use to offer them prey, which is okay. Come on. If you have slow, deliberate movements, they typically are not going to be bolty or defensive, I've found. Come on.
So if you're nervous and you're kind of shaky, which like I usually am.
Or if you jab at them.
Yeah, if you give them quick little jabs, I don't like it.
Come on.
Yeah, piece of cake.
Piece of cake. I think the scene is right. He's chilling, but
show you guys. There he is, right there.
Okay, I'm gonna go hide now.
Yep.
I see my metallic out every morning and most of the afternoon. Never been photosensitive.
That's awesome. So that animal obviously feels safe enough to come out and be exposed. And normally what you'll find is they're not far from the retreats, right? So that's where like you'll see them come out and bask around the retreat. So if they're startled, they just take off, right? They go right back down the hole, which is perfect.
We're back down.
All right. What do you
Okay,
got next?
Hold on, let me label this one to make sure. Let's see. We got a Metallica unsexed juvenile because it keeps shredding its molts. We'll do that one next.
Yeah, is it going in here?
It was supposed to go in one of these, but
Oh, really?
it doesn't matter, I guess. We can put this one in a...
So we have Exoterra 8812 that I gotta fill with some soil here still. So we could talk about the screens real quick because I know someone eventually, if not now, will comment on it. We say this a lot. We encourage you guys to swap these out for like a plexi or an acrylic lid that's like really ventilated. We don't on our arboreals. I like this screen a lot. I like the ventilation it provides. And if you notice, all of our retreats like have they come up to the top. The animals from this comfort of their burrows get plenty of heat. So we don't find them on the lids. Like we just don't. We don't have that problem. We never have. Now with our terrestrials, we will do it because they're more heavy bodied and they're not really physiologically built for hanging upside down and crawling all over the place. So anyway, we like this. This works for us. But we encourage you guys, if you want to replace these, I highly recommend the tarantula cribs replacement lids. They're just drop fit. If you do order from them, make sure you get the maximally ventilated lid. Yeah. I don't think the standard lids offer enough ventilation for any arboreal.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I just don't think so. So use the maximally ventilated one. All right, let's put some soil in there. And I don't love the cork hollow we have for this one.
Okay.
I might go out and find a different one.
Okay.
Again, lots of particulate in the soil. These ones we're not getting real fancy with plants or anything like that. These are temporary. For our female enclosures, you know, things that are a little more permanent, we'll put plants and microfauna in there. We're finding in this new Megamix blend lots of mushrooms.
Different mushrooms.
Different
I don't
mushrooms.
think I've ever seen these before.
Yeah. Not harmful or anything.
I can shut this little one off a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead. I gotta go find a cork hollow. Those blues are just not coming through. All right, let me go see.
This is a baby that we produced last year. This one likes to shred its molds, so it's still unsexed. That's okay. Fun fact, we held back about 17 babies from the last time we produced P. Metallica, and so far 14 of those are males, and 1 is a female. I think we've got 2 or 3, if I'm doing my math right, that are still unsexed.
This is much better.
Much better.
Oh, yeah. That's what's up. Look at that. This goes right to the top. So again,
Making a mess.
Yeah, we're making a mess. That's okay. Nothing fancy, just the essentials. That's really what they need.
Some baking.
Throw some leaf litter in there.
You need another water dish?
Nope, I got one.
Okay. Tell them about our fancy water dishes.
Yep. They come in a sleeve. They're really expensive. How many ounces is this? 2?
1 ounce.
1 or 2 ounce water dish.
Those are like Jello shot or condiment cups,
Jello
by the way,
shots.
in case you don't know what those are.
Yeah, these are amazing. They get the job done. Might not be the most aesthetically pleasing, but
I find them aesthetically pleasing because they don't take away
they don't
from
take
the
away.
rest
It's
of
not
the
like a fake
enclosure.
stone or
They're
anything.
very what's the word? Like low profile, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Set it in there. This 4 tube is tube is cold. It was out in the garage.
Let us know if you guys have any questions.
Yeah. All
We're
right.
not experts, but we have answers for some things.
Yeah, I can always make things up too.
Don't
All
do
right.
that.
I'm just kidding. If I don't know something, I ain't gonna tell you I don't know. Let's put this up. Yeah, you want to lift that up?
That's good enough.
I got you.
And a note about the substrate for these particular species, they don't come from like super wet tropical rainforests. They do come from a habitat that experiences dry and wet periods. So we're not adding a ton of moisture to the substrate or anything like that, but we will give them a good mist.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for the monsoon season, India would be a desert. But it does, out of a few months out of the year, experiences, we didn't even talk about this, but it does experience heavy rains. And that's when this species breeds. Or not just this species, but the whole genus tends to reproduce at this stage. And I think, just based on what we've experienced, I think what they do is they breed when it's wet and cooler. And then females 6 months down the road will drop an egg sac when it's real hot and dry. And then I think that's why Poecilotheria in particular has an extra instar, because I think
not every single species though.
Really?
Mhm.
I didn't even know that.
I don't know which species exactly do, but I do know for sure that not every single species has an extra instar.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But Metallica definitely does. And I think that's so that when the babies hatch, it's still kind of warm. And then once the monsoon season starts again and food is plentiful, then they molt and then they start eating. Because if you notice, during its second instar, they're not eating yet. And I think that's why.
Just for algorithm's sake and whatever, don't recommend handling them without.
Yeah, don't do that. What I just did. Okay? Come on.
Don't do that.
But see how I'm just gonna set him in there, and he can take off whenever he wants.
Yeah.
Look at that piece of cake.
Minimal stress.
Yeah. See, he's not freaking out. I'm not freaking out.
I was just telling them that we have like 18 holdbacks or 17, and 14 of them are males.
Yeah. What's up with that? Actually,
Well,
it's good for us at this point.
I mean, I guess
But female
we don't need
Metallica is.
14 males. We need like 4 males.
And I don't know. We're like short a tank. We were gonna.
Yeah, I
rehouse
was
this
gonna.
one too,
Yeah,
but
I was
we'll,
gonna put the Highland in the smaller one. That's okay.
That's all right.
Let's save
We'll
it
do
for
it
next time. Yeah.
Cool. Pokies
Oh.
rehoused for the most part.
I meant to mention, did you ever look in at all to evolution? Because Pokies, there are some studies on
Nope, now
evolution of
you're
Indian
out of my
species.
wheelhouse. Yeah, I just be saying things I don't know.
I need to look back into this, but I did read recently, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but the Indian continent, I'm pretty sure that originally came from when all the continents were still a jumbled mess. India actually was part of like Australia.
Oops. I don't know what it means.
But it has something to do with the way that Australian and Indian species evolved.
Nerd stuff.
There's
Nerd
stuff.
stuff.
I think it's interesting.
It is interesting. Boom. So that's Poecilotheria, guys. That's all we're going to cover. Again, I highly recommend.
Pangea, Gondwana, all those.
Yeah, all
whatever they're
those.
called. Big continents.
I highly recommend you guys go check out those documentaries. We'll put them down in the description below. Again, lovetarantulas.com. That's Andrew Smith's website. He has documentaries on not just Pokies, but Brachypelma, and he's like currently filming in like.
He just got back from Thailand. Costa Rica. He just got back from Thailand. Now he's coming to the U.S. I think he's actually already here. He's probably studying the fauna species.
Nice.
Next.
That'll be cool because I know there's a lot of Afaunapelma nerds, and I think we get their husbandry kind of messed up.
Yeah.
So this will be really cool.
You're 2 hours late.
Oh, hey, Wenjun,
Or
we're
1 hour
going to
late.
bed. Good to see you, buddy.
It's past Ryan's bedtime.
I'm tired. Anyway, check out those documentaries. Check us out online, martialarachnids.com. Also, check us out. We have a new Facebook group for the stream, Spiders After Sunset Social, to celebrate really the start of the stream. We're going to do a giveaway. We are giving away one of those blue beauties.
Don't say that because that's a common name for like 3 different species.
See, this is
and
common.
Metallica.
We're giving away a Metallica.
Or if you're not ready for an old world species, you can pick a versicolor instead.
Yep, we got a few of those too.
Because we like you.
Yep.
We want you to succeed.
Details on how to enter for that are in the Facebook group. Just follow the instructions Jess laid out for you.
Search Spiders After Sunset Social.
Yep.
On Facebook.
I don't know what we're going to cover next. Why don't you guys tell
give
us?
some
Comment
suggestions.
down below. We can do another species specific thing. We can, we can always just have a feeding party. Like literally just like lay out like hundreds of things and we can feed and kind of show you guys how we feed stuff. We're definitely not mechanical about it, but we do have a schedule just because we are a business, so we have to like check on everybody. But yeah, that would be cool. We could talk about whip spiders next.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that would be fun too. So
Yeah. Cool.
Plus one for a feeding party.
All right, feeding party. Want to do feeding party next week?
Yeah.
All right,
I
feeding
guess so.
party. We're gonna feed everything. Pokies, Avix, other things that I don't know Jess has.
All you know is Pokies and names.
That's all. Whatever. Yeah, that's what I like, guys.
You want to tell them about the Avix that we just separated today? In case
Yeah, we had a little rehousing party. We just had a purpurea sac hatch. So normally we breed most of our animals in the springtime, but for some reason, this girl, the way the cycle works, she wants to make babies this time of year.
This is her 4th time producing a sac in like late fall, early winter.
Yeah, which is interesting. Yep. So we just rehoused. Well, I can't tell you how many.
You don't.
I can't tell you yet. Yeah, a bunch.
Don't tell them.
But we are doing a giveaway with those. Check out our Facebook page, just our
Yes.
normal Martial Arachnids Facebook page.
Yes,
We're-
if you happen to be watching this live or very soon after we're posting it, we will be announcing tomorrow, December 8th.
Yep. I like this giveaway stuff. It's kind of fun. All right, guys, we love you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully we learned a little bit about Pokies. Again, go check out those documentaries. Shout out to Andrew Smith and all those wonderful other content creators who make cool stuff.
Blue Bomber says common and rare colors in tarantulas. I'll have to do a lot more research into that before we tackle that.
That's a her thing. Yeah, why the
Why is it a
animals?
me thing?
Because I don't know. That's
Okay.
beyond me. I can't help you there. But yeah, bright colors and spiders. There have been some studies on that,
Yeah,
but it's mostly
blue
speculation.
particularly.
I feel like
Yeah, there's no.
they're not like no one's like this is
There's
exactly why.
You know what would be a good topic? I think
Hmm.
is we should talk about publications
Yeah, we should,
and like
especially on
in
Belfry.
general. That's not a publication.
There are publications on Belfry.
There's one publication.
Well, I like it.
Anyway, that one study that terrible one where their methods are just terrible popped
Ooh.
into my head.
You know what we should bring what's her name back on for that? Becky, the
Yes.
scientist. We should bring her,
The scientist.
the actual scientist.
She is an American biologist who is studying a lot of U.S. native tarantulas right now and other arachnids, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and
Yes.
she has access to studies that are behind paywalls. There's
Yes.
actually quite a few studies on spiders, tarantulas that are behind paywalls that we don't, us common folk don't have access to.
We do have a live, well, it was formerly live, but it's under the live tab on YouTube, I think, a interview with Becky where we talked about her research if you want to watch that also.
Yeah, she's amazing.
In the
I'm
meantime.
pretty cringe, but she's incredible. So we should probably have her back on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and we'll
agree.
talk about that.
Yeah, we should talk about what she's
Because like when
She's
she's
fun.
around, I feel really dumb and I don't want to talk. Just be like, you used to say
you
it
just
all.
take the floor.
Yeah, don't rely on me to like host it. Just talk.
I
So
believe she lives in Missouri.
yes,
Yes.
sounds right. Cool. All right. Well, we love you guys. Have a great night. Stay warm.
Don't mess the camera
Ugh.
with your gestures. Don't. Oh gosh, you're gonna mess it up.
Whatever. All right. We love you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
I'm just gonna flip the camera off.